Usually in drum and bass, like the most common pattern is just like a doom cats, doom cats, doom cats, doom cat. So we don't need to really randomize anything in order to get that. In fact, it's easier if we just know what we want. So usually that's out of 16 steps. That's like 0, 10, and out of 16. So that should give us something like this. I'm going to try a different kick here. Cool. And the snare is usually on the 2 and the 4. So that would be out of 16, that would be 4 and 12. Oh. Beat, sound, SD, and let's try SD4 as well. Maybe SD3. There we go. We're hopping a bit, we're hopping along. So I'm gonna create a hi-hat now. I like to create my hi-hats with white noise. So 8th notes is usually good with a decay, short decay. And we can make them groove a little bit by passing in a signal modulation. So like a triangle wave with a range of like 0.05 to like 0.12-ish, and then make it go at double speed. Yeah, cool. So yeah, we can speed it up and slow it down for different sorts of subtle grooves. I'm gonna actually make this even shorter. Yeah, so now they're like snappy. Now that we have this basic groove, usually you have like some sort of like ghost snares going on or like some interesting percussion going on in the background. So I'm gonna do that with a rim. And this is it's less important which beats these are actually on. And in fact, variation for this style is good. So I'm gonna load up a rim shot. I'm gonna load up rim 1, and then we're gonna do something cool. So we were talking about randomness and variation earlier. We can also do that with struct. And struct is basically a pattern of 1s and 0s that you pass in, and that will play on those beats if it's 1 and not if it's 0. So we can like pass in like just some 1s and 0s, right? So if we were like trying to get out of get 8th notes, we pass in 8. We get something like this. Yeah. So that's cool and all, but we want something more interesting. We want a pattern that's more varied and cool. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. So we can use randomness again, but we need to round it. So it goes, if it's above 0.5, it goes to 1, and below it goes to 0. And we don't need to speed it up, but we need to segment it into, let's do 16th notes and see how that sounds. That's pretty cool. It's a little too random though. And it's also a little loud, but I'll turn it down a second. So it's a little too random. So what we're gonna do is we're going to constrain the randomness with, guess what? Guess what? It's the ribbon function. Hey, shout out ribbon function, making like this type of music like really easy to conceive and make cool. So okay, so we're gonna ribbon from cycle 0 to cycle 1. So we're just gonna cut out a slice of time that's 1 cycle long from cycle 0. Cool. So that's already cool. I'm gonna try some different numbers. Cool. I like 3. 3 is cool. We can also make it longer, right? Cool. And if we want it to be more present or less present, right? So the likelihood of it happening to be higher or lower, we can actually multiply this random value, because this random value is between 0 and 1. So if we multiply this by like 0.6, the events are much less likely to happen because it's only being generated between 0 and 0.6 and then rounded up or down. So On the flip side, if we want them to happen more, we can raise this value. So as the song gets more like, going a little bit more, this is really useful, actually, a really useful strategy for building up energy. So I'm gonna go with like maybe 0.8, 0.7, 0.65. Yeah, that's good. And then lower the volume a little bit. And yeah, that's good. So I also maybe like this kick pattern is cool. It's like classic, but I want to vary it up a little bit more. So I'm going to try adding some kicks that only happen sometimes. And the way we can do that easily in this beat function is just pass in a question mark. Cool. So now we're getting that extra kick on the 7 sometimes. And we can make the hi-hat skip a little bit by making it so they repeat twice or 4 times, almost never. So whenever an event happens, there's a chance that it will stutter, basically. See if we can watch it happen. Yeah, there you go. Maybe 4 is too much, but 2 is good. Okay. So now let's get into the really, really fun part, which is making our bass loop. So we have our Neuro, sort of Neuro bass, like, I don't know, dubsteppy, grime, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, like the really loud, angry bass that we made with Serum. So I have my bass loaded up here, and we're going to scrub. Okay, so if we pass in a scrub of 0, it's just going to start at the beginning and do 1 cycle long. And we want it to be more varied than that. So one thing I like to do with long loops is to divide the values, so we can use integers instead of like 0.00, 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 because scrub goes between 0 and 1. So I'm going to divide this probably by 50 because it's a pretty long stem, but this is arbitrary. So yeah, so I'm going to start like playing around with some numbers here. There's not a method to this. It's just like some numbers that feel nice in my head, I guess. It's a little mystical. I don't know why I would want to type in 3 or 52 or whatever. So we're just going to see how this sounds. Oh yeah, this is greater than 50, so nothing's going to happen. That's already really cool. Maybe I want this to repeat twice, like do a 16th note skip on this step. Maybe every other cycle I want this to not happen. Or be a different number. Okay, so yeah, we can essentially play with this sort of forever. Like manually, and that's cool, but I enjoy making things. I enjoy not necessarily making them fast, but like using the computer to help me like find ideas that I wouldn't necessarily have found just like coming up with random numbers in my head. Okay, so we're going to use random values for scrubbing instead. And so I'm going to remove this that I just created, and I'm just going to pass in random and segment it by 8, and let's just hear how that sounds. It's going to be really kind of choppy and weird, but yeah, so this is cool. Like if we want to like a completely crazy Neuro DNB sort of line, and then if we could like try different seeds, we can try like 1 cycle long. But we want something that's a little bit more coherent. And because the way I grafted my stems together is I put similar sounds next to each other, random values between 0 and 1, it won't necessarily pick those sounds in that order. or roughly in that order, but there's a different kind of randomness that we can use called Perlin noise. And Perlin noise is what it is. It's just like, imagine a sine wave, right? But instead of going up and down and consistently, sometimes it like goes up a little bit and comes down, or goes down here and spends some time down here and then goes back up again. So it follows like a progression, basically. Like it's a random progression, but it's like similar values, right? So it's all going up and down, kind of like a mountain range. So we're gonna pass in Perlin noise and see if that gives us something more coherent. Cool. Yeah, this is already, it's going pretty slow, right? So it's doing like one curve per cycle. So we can get some different, first of all, I'm going to ribbon it just so we can see what the variation in speed does. I'm ribbon it from just, I don't know, cycle 10, 1 cycle long. And then that's already cool. But let's try speeding up and slowing down this Perlin noise. Let's go maybe 4 cycles. So like the faster I speed it up, sort of the less like, coherent's the wrong word, but the less like grouped the sounds will be together because it's like going up and down really fast. So I'm gonna look for some other seeds. And maybe I wanted to scrub only like a portion of the sample, so we can, since we know that the beginning of the sample is at 0 and the end is at 1, we can truncate the range here. So maybe I want to search between 0.17 and like 0.3 or something, because I like the sounds I put in that area. Yeah, let's make this 2 cycles long instead. That's already actually really cool. Okay, so, oh, I like that a lot. Okay, so, let's, I'm gonna do, maybe, I'm gonna make it repeat twice sometimes. So, sometimes, to get some variation. X. Wait, what if instead of repeating twice, we made it go in reverse? So the sample will go backwards and pick a different. So maybe 15% of the time, this will happen. So speed -1 is just sample speed, so. Yeah. So 15% of the time, like a different thing is gonna happen. That's gonna keep our variation moving. And something with these kind of like Noisia style, like grimy drum and bass like sequences you can do is you can add a phaser on top of them to make them more coherent. Oh, and let's visualize what we have going so far. I'm gonna visualize this up here with the scope, right? I'm gonna put a scope, not a scope, a punch card, so we can view what our kick and snare look like, and hi-hat. Cool. And now I'll add a scope down here so we can watch the bass. And if we want to make this even more grimy, we can add distortion. So like a distortion of like 2.5. And then the second argument, because this is array syntax, so the second argument in this array syntax is just gain. So you can lower the gain a little bit. I like how. Yeah. And cool. So if we were like, oh, that's so sick. We can get even crazier with this. We can like sometimes maybe segment 8 times, other times 4 times, or just like do a pattern. Just see. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay, cool. This is so cool. Another thing that we can do to make this even wilder is so we can put a delay in here. But let's do a delay of 1/2. And we can randomize the delay time. And we can even randomize the delay volume itself. So, okay, so the way the delay works is the randomness works is that it's calculated based on time. So if we pass in the same random variable here, it will like get the same values, and we don't necessarily, we want it to be more variated. So one thing we could do is that we can make time go faster for this randomness, so they're not perfectly lined up. Cool, and then we can put like another break over top. So let's go back to just our breaks sound divided by 2, fit it to 170 BPM, and let's just scrub it at 0 and see how that sounds. Alright, now let's try scrubbing it randomly again. Let's do 16 individual chops segmented by 8. Okay. And let's ribbon it to like maybe half a cycle. Yeah, and distort it to make it louder. Maybe not that loud. Maybe we'll distort it a lot, but lower the volume more. And lower the decay. And maybe apply some bit crushing with the coarse function. What this does is that it takes so you have an audio buffer filled with like 44.1 thousand samples a second, like they basically just amplitude values. And so what this does is saying like skip, I believe it's like skip every 8th one or something. I have to look at the code again. So the higher the value, the more like bit crushed it'll sound. You can hear it more if the decay is higher. So if we need this, cool. So now let's make like a build up. One way I discovered I discovered this really cool way to make like an infinite building riser. So I'm gonna do that here. So I'm gonna create a pulse wave, and we're gonna FM frequency modulate it, but we're gonna frequency modulate it with our time variable. And we're gonna pass in the FM harmonics. We're gonna pass in time as well. So the more time that passes, the higher the FM value will be. And so let's hear how that sounds. Oh, and let's do eighth notes. Let's do eighth notes. Maybe put some reverb on. Lower the volume. Make this bass a little louder now. We can ribbon everything at the same time to make it stutter from cycle 0, like 1/2 a cycle long. Cool. And one last thing you can do. I'm gonna take the phaser off this bass. I think it's a little much, but okay. So one last thing we can do. I'm gonna remove this infinite riser. Is we can maybe add a pad, and I'm just gonna mute the pad, or mute the bass. I'm gonna basically chop a pad sample. So up here, I've loaded this. Basically, these are just some samples, like pads, notes I've recorded, mostly with like Serum. I just like played some chords that I liked and then just threw them in like samples, like mostly like minor 7 chords and like minor 9 chords. Anyway, so we have just our drum loop. And that's cool. And but we want to, I'm actually gonna mute the kick because I feel like it. Okay, so I want to chop a pad, right? So I'm gonna load in the pad. And then I'm going to scrub it. So we can do so like doons cats. A lot of times like 0 and for 5 eighth notes, and then 0 from like 3 eighth notes works really well because it's like it starts at the beginning on each hit of the kick. So that sounds like. Oh, it's not called pad, it's called SW pad for switch angel pad. Okay. I'm gonna make this louder so you can hear it. That's already cool. That's already like really cool. And if we want to make it pump, we can increase the attack time. We can also explore different places in the sample, and we don't have to actually change these values. If we want to change them at the same time, we can just do .add. So I'm going to add like 0.3. We can also pattern this, right? So we could do 0.3 for 3 cycles, and then like 0.7 for 1 cycle. Yeah. Okay. You can also get like more crazy with this. You can add just a random value so it plays a different chop. Yeah, so you can go very quickly into like liquid territory. And that's the last thing I want to share about chopping audio. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm gonna make many more as long as people are interested in hearing them. And yeah, I've got music online too under Switch Angel. It's on all the places, all the streaming, all of the things. I want to make an actual vinyl soon of my album. So keep your eye on that. And yeah, thanks for watching.